welcome to Bada Goodbyes. Each week on our show, we spotlight species from the IUCN Critically Endangered Red List. These are plants and animals with decreasing populations, nearing the edges of extinction. And so we'll share species research, information, and conservation proposals. And then we'll spend part of the show opening a space for contemplation and awe. We'll perform a soundscape of gentleness, of reflection, of delight, and maybe of grieving. Without conservation activity and significant societal shift, many of these species may not survive the 21st century. And so perhaps we might acknowledge their journey with a moment of our attention, a recognition of our kinship, and with a commitment to personal and systemic change. Thank you for listening. On today's show, we consider the Barker's Koromiko. The Barker's Koromiko is a critically endangered flowering shrub native to Aotearoa Rēkohu, New Zealand's Chatham Islands, an archipelago roughly 400 miles east of New Zealand's South Island. Its scientific name is Veronica barkeri, and it was first described in 1899. The Barker's Koromiko, unlike many of their relatives in the Veronica family, is quite tall. Veronica tend to be generally low-growing ground cover shrubs, roughly 1 to 4 feet in height, but our Barker's Koromiko can grow to 40 feet tall in the wild. Scientists call this evolutionary phenomena island gigantism, and we find it occurring globally in remote, isolated habitats observed in both animal and plant species. For example, some green, soft-stemmed herbaceous plants, including our Barker's Koromiko, due to limited competition and the absence of large grazers, have evolved to allocate energy to structural support and slow, tall, vertical growth. They produce woody stems, which allow for significant size compared to their mainland kin. And so the Barker's Koromiko's growth form presents more like a small tree or very large shrub rather than low ground cover like their continental relatives. The Barker's Koromiko leaves are yellowish light green on their adaxial surface, that's the upper side, and a paler, more muted green on the bottom side, the abaxial surface. Leaves are lanceolate, so shaped like a spearhead. Narrow, less than an inch in width, long, 3.5 inches in length, and oblong shaped, coming to a sharp point at the tip. They have a leathery texture, and the leaf's margins that is the outer edge of the leaf, are covered in short, fine hairs. These are both adaptations to help prevent water loss in their very windswept habitat. The Barker's Koromiko is monoecious. Both male and female reproductive systems grow on the same individual. The Barker's Koromiko grows inflorescences, flower clusters of roughly 20 to 50 bisexual and female flowers, generally in these upward pointing, roughly 3-inch tall stems called racemes. Racemes are flower clusters in which the flowers grow on short stalks of about equal length at equal distances along a central stem. They plant flowers from December to March. This is summer in the southern hemisphere. And the flower petals shift in color over time. They open bright white marked with bluish, purplish, pinkish before fading to a soft white, pale blue as they age. The flowers are likely insect pollinated by bees and flies, and after fertilization in January to April, they develop a small dry seed capsule, roughly a 1/4 inch long and 1/8 of an inch wide. These capsules remain on the plant and, once mature, split open to release a tiny, flat, winged brown seed. These seeds are wind dispersed, carried on ocean breezes away from their parent plants. The Barker's Koromiko is reasonably long-lived, with individuals known to be over 30 years old. In the dream, to be born on the wind. The first glimmering, the drifting, a floating, a tumbling, a gliding, a flying, a falling. Terror, hope, confusion, delight. What it is to live, what it is to make a life in the dream. The Barker's Koromiko is native to Aotearoa, New Zealand. There is a lovely cultural convention in this country to employ both indigenous place names alongside the European names. So we will try to respect that convention and apologize for poor pronunciation. So the Barker's Koromiko is native to Aotearoa, New Zealand, to Rēkohu, the Chatham Islands. This is a very remote archipelago in the South Pacific Ocean, roughly 400 miles east of Te Waipounamu, New Zealand's South Island. In the archipelago, there are two main islands, Rēkohu and Untitled Pit Island. And the total landmass is roughly 300 square miles, so about the size of New York City. The islands were formed roughly 80 million years ago by volcanic upthrust. This is magma collecting beneath the crust, pushing the land upward, eventually above the ocean surface. And so the islands are a mix of volcanic rock and limestone, a landscape of swamps, damp scrublands, and broadleaf forests. The islands see persistent salt-laden winds, and so the forests are relatively low stature. The tallest trees only growing to about 60 feet in height, and the vegetation is dominated by tree ferns. Today we find the Barker's Koromiko in the southern half of Rēkohu, on Untitled and on Rangatira, Southeast Island, a tiny protected offshore sanctuary. Plant grows inland, in open forests, atop coastal bluffs, and on the banks of deep streams. This is a Chatham Island temperate forest ecoregion with a humid subtropical climate that is relatively stable year-round. Summer highs reach into the upper 60s Fahrenheit, and winter lows drop into the 40s Fahrenheit, and it rains an average of roughly 35 inches total annually. The Barker's Koromiko shares its island home with shy albatross, Chatham parakeet, Chatham sedge, driftwood rim lichen, black robin, tomtit, lowland ribbonwood, Chatham island petrel, Chatham skink, erect-crested penguin, New Zealand nightshade, New Zealand spinach, sooty shearwater, northern kakabeak, Chatham Island's Christmas tree, white-fronted tern, New Zealand linen flax, Pitt Island shag, scurvy grass, Chatham Island's forget-me-not, hedgehog, shore plover, silver gull, Pitt Island longhorn, Chatham Island's pigeon, Chatham Island's oyster catcher, and many, many more. Historically, both indigenous peoples who came to the islands in the 1400s and European colonizers who arrived in the late 1700s clear-cut the land for agriculture, destroying the native habitat and significantly reducing the population of Barker's Koromiko, which was once widespread across the islands. Today, they are primarily threatened by human-introduced mammal species. For millennia, the island was free of large grazers. But now, livestock, cattle, sheep, and pigs feed upon the plant, eating both the bark and its greenery. And accidentally introduced possum have been observed consuming Koromiko seedlings, preventing the natural regeneration of the species. Fortunately, most of the remaining Barker's Koromiko is on protected land, and the species is legally protected both locally and nationally. The New Zealand Department of Conservation has instituted animal management measures to help protect native vegetation, constructing and maintaining mammal exclusion fences. Additionally, a possum control program is in place. These programs have demonstrated some success. In a fenced area of the Tuku River Reserve, hundreds of new Barker's Koromiko seedlings were observed in a previously barren location. There are offsite cultivation programs in place, growing wild collected seed for later replanting. And translocation programs are trying to reestablish new populations across the plant's historical range. In February 2025, a partnership between the Department of Conservation, local orgs, and the Chatham Islands Landscape Restoration Trust joined the International Island Ocean Connection Challenge. This is a global endeavor dedicated to restoring and rewilding island ocean ecosystems by 2030. The program supports natural regeneration through the eradication of harmful introduced feral mammals and active restoration, replanting, and reintroduction of native species. Nevertheless, the Barker's Koromiko has been considered critically endangered on the IUCN Red List since 2025, and their population is currently in decline. Our most recent counts estimate that less than 250 Barker's Koromiko remain in the wild. Information for today's show about the Barker's Koromiko was compiled from Current Biology, Volume 30, Number 8, from the Descriptive Abstracts of the Terrestrial Ecoregions of the World, from the IUCN, from the New Zealand Plant Conservation Network, from Flora of New Zealand Online, from Austral Ecology, Volume 40, from iNaturalist, from Radio New Zealand, from the New Zealand Department of Conservation, and from Wikipedia. For more information about conservation on Rēkohu, Chatham Islands, see the Chatham Islands Landscape Restoration Trust at chathamrestorationtrust.org.nz. So now I would like to improvise some music in hopes of making space to be in contemplation of the other beings with whom we share our earth, like the Barker's Koromiko. I do not intend to force meaning upon or extract meaning from the Barker's Koromiko. Instead, I want this music to be an expression of my awe for all life. So I will pause in the space of sound and reflection, and I warmly invite you to join me. of the lives of all barkers Koromiko. I will commit their name to my record. I am so grateful to have shared time on our planet with this beautiful being. And I lament the ways in which I and my species have harmed and diminished this species. I grieve. And so in the name of the barkers Koromiko, I pledge to reduce my consumption, my carbon footprint, and my wastefulness. I pledge to acknowledge and attempt to address the costs of my actions and inactions. And I pledge to resist the harm of plant and animal kin and their habitats by individuals, corporations, and governments. I forever pledge my song to the witness and memory of all life, to a broad celebration of biodiversity, and to the total liberation of all beings. This has been Bad at Goodbyes. Thank you for listening. Until next time, let's take care of each other and all of our kin.